Everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSI DFS Fantasy and NFL Picks. I'm your Smegro 31. Apologize, I didn't get to a video on Monday. I was out of town in Manhattan working and just got out late and just couldn't get to it. So apologize for that. Bill's meltdown again. And last Thursday was Kickers and DL optimal. Kind of hate it when that happens, but time to time, sometimes that's just the way to go, especially if you're doing like 20 max. Always, throw the kicker, like build 4 lines within the dollar, and you might be able to cover yourself if that's how the end game ends up going. We have a division rivalry here. It seems like Baltimore is on cruise control in the division. They're my favorite team, and it's just frustrating how it's about ready to write them off if they lost to the Steelers, and then they come back and beat some really good teams, and then they run up against Cleveland and they dominate for 3/4 of the game and then choke and lose it. So it's frustrating. Cincinnati, it's got to be just as frustrating for their fans to lose to the Texans, who are up and coming and do a great job this year. I can't take anything away from them, but Boyd should have caught the touchdown pass, and the game should have been over. And then the D gives up, and it just game over. So I think this division is still like pretty much wide open. Well, we'll see what happens, but this is a very important game tonight. So I think it should be a decent amount of scoring. It should be pretty good. So for cash, I'm looking at Lamar Chase is my captain. I know a lot of people, especially if you have Lamar in season long, drives you nuts recently because you've had people like he hasn't been running for touchdowns. He's actually like, some people have caught touchdown. He's passed for a couple touchdowns, and like Edwards and Mitchell have poached some touchdowns where he thought that Lamar was going to be the goal line back, and all of a sudden these guys are, and it's frustrating. He's on your toes as a defense, but for a fantasy player, it's again frustrating. But I think Chase was banged up last week. He looked pretty fine. I think he's just going to be pushing through the injury most of the season. Limit him a little bit, but I think he'll be fine. Target monster, one of the best wide receivers out there in the NFL currently. So no hesitation playing either one of those two as I think they have the highest upside for captain, and I'm going to put Andrews there. I know it leaves you just a little under 5K for the rest of your line, but with the price on the kickers and Irwin and some other plays, Boyd's relatively inexpensive also. Like, I felt I could play some pretty good lines using those three as the core, mixing and matching them and filling it with like Burrows or Boyd or Flowers or the kickers. I think those are where I'm looking for in the cash game. In GPPs, I'm gonna go. It's more of a ball control game. The Edwards has another one of those maybe 2 touchdown games and a lot of yards, and that the Ravens D, even though they're down a cornerback, and even though the Bengals are constantly out of shotgun ever since Joe Burrow started the season injured, and like with the isn't as mobile with like his like calf or whatever injury, lower leg injury, something like that. And so it's hard to get pressure on them. So I think that the Ravens D could still definitely frustrate Cincinnati. We've seen them go quiet and struggle at times, but I think if they do get behind from Baltimore, and then I think Chase is the one to run it back with if you want a little bit more salary, but you almost have 10K there. So I mean, that's a pretty cheap build. I think in this build too, I'll try to work Mitchell in also, just because it'll be like both running backs in the D and Chase like catching balls to try to catch up. And then this might be one where I don't use all my salary. Maybe I'll throw like Tucker in there and Lamar, and just like build it like all Ravens and have like Chase as the only run back. So we'll see how that goes for that. But for your GPP fill-ins, like Mixon, I think is only GPP play. And I don't even think I'm touching the Cincinnati D. They've just looked bad. Mitchell, I think he's good. Maybe even a cash fill-in also. Bateman and Odell Beckham Jr. have Bateman's a little expensive. That's why his GPP, and Odell just seems to be not resurrecting his career, but actually like starting to be relevant again. But there's just it still seems like Flowers and Anders are definitely the priority there. Hill has completely disappeared, so I don't think I'll be playing much of him in GPP. For contrarian boy, I'm gonna go with Cincinnati. So Boyd and Burrows, and run it back with Flowers. and I'll probably maybe throw Chase in there and just run like as many Cincinnati players as I can, just for like an all-out assault, and just have Flowers as like trying to catch some deep balls. Maybe Lamar and Flowers in that build. Also, maybe I'll go like 2-4 to Baltimore for Cincinnati in that build. And the punts, like I said, Irwin is definitely like the third wide receiver here. You have Jones and Shedrick Jackson potentially there also, but they don't really see much. It's like Cincinnati runs with like 3 tight end sets sometimes, or rotates them in, not sets, but they rotate like 3 tight ends in there. Hudson, I think, is definitely the number one there. But Smith and Sample are definitely in play, and they're pretty cheap also to try to get in. I think, the priority would go Hudson and then Smith, and then Sample would be like the least out of all of them. Wouldn't play Wilcox. I don't think he'll really play much. You have Likely also, who potentially could catch if something happens to Anderson, then he's potentially in play there also. So other cheap one is Aguilar. He's definitely has caught some balls and is a deep threat for Baltimore. Not looked at a lot, but I think he's still in play for that. So if I'm going like for a cheap captain, then definitely give me Irwin, Lamar, and Burrow, because we 75-33 left. And there's a lot of neat builds that you can build with that one. So pretty much what I got for you. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat below. Hit me at Megaro31 on Twitter/X. And if you want more information on FSI DFS, you can get to our website by going to the description of the video. All the information is there. And finally, if these videos help you, help us back by liking the video, subscribe to our channel so you know when the videos come out, and share with your friends. So thanks. Good luck in your contest. I'll be back on Saturday or some point to do the full week 11 breakdown, and hope everybody has a good weekend, getting ready for the holidays coming up, and good luck in your contest. See you next time.